Hello, everyone. It's Tina.
And Whitney.
And you are at Joy Within the Journey. How are you today? We hope you're doing great. How are you, Whitney?
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good today.
Sometimes we have to talk about tough things.
We do.
Especially in senior care, you know, you think that you can like have these conversations or maybe even think you've had these conversations, but you've never really had them about how you get yourself ready and how do you know you're aging? Guess what? Aging happens. You can be so fortunate if you're in your 90s and dealing with problems because how many people didn't make it to 90s?
Right.
A lot.
Yep.
So, you know, what you can do is you can prepare for those moments. But a lot of people stick their head in the sand. They think it's not going to happen to them or they think they're going to die early. And a lot of people tell me, I didn't know I was going to make it to 60. Well, a lot of people make it to 60. So you made it to 60. Are you prepared for the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s? Some people even make it to 100.
Lots of people.
So since we see the aging process a lot, we've talked about lots of things related to senior care, but we're just going to talk about aging a little bit and how that plays out in your daily life. I'm a single woman. I mean, I'm a very dedicated woman. I have a wonderful significant other, for the record. I feel bad for saying I'm single because I'm not single, but I am not married. So all of my assets will become a disaster when, you know, if I had to go into senior care or, God forbid, I pass away today. It's going to be a nightmare because I have not prepared well enough.
Right.
I did actually buy this book, everyone, and it's called I'm Dead, Now What? And I have had it for quite a while and I haven't filled it out yet.
That was my next question. Did you fill it out?
No, I haven't because it's not something you want to think about. And for the record, I'm not 60 yet, not even 50 yet. I'm really close, but I'm not there yet. But as someone that is not married and have my kid, I do not want my kids to have to deal with all this if I have to go into long-term care or if I have to be buried or cremated or what do I want?
You don't want your kids making all those decisions.
We have not had these discussions. So today's episode is going to talk a little bit about that and kind of help you think about that, and not in a negative term, in a term of, you know, let's prepare so there can be peace and healing during that time period instead of anguish and worry and doubt that you're doing what your loved one would want.
And all the stress that comes with planning all of those things. And are you doing the right thing? Is this what they would want?
Right.
You don't want to leave that for anybody.
No, you really don't. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about. Actually, Whitney thought it would be interesting to talk about. So I won't take her sunshine in that manner. But, you know, I think it's a great conversation to have because I think that if we can help you have that conversation and prepare, then we've made a difference in that for families that are dealing with it during a difficult time.
Mm-hmm. I've experienced lots of families who have been in that situation in long-term care and even in the hospital where their loved one is incapacitated and can't speak for themselves and they have no idea.
Right.
No idea.
So there's medical directives, you know, that says this is what I want if I am incapacitated. You know, I would not, let's say I've had dementia or I get diagnosed with dementia. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but it does run in my family. So does my family know I do not want to be put in a I don't want to have a G tube to feed me. I don't want to have IVs to hydrate me. I want to let the course happen and die, hopefully peacefully. I don't want a lot of heroic measures because I have a disease that could last a long time. I want to focus on the quality that I can have during that time, not on making my time last the longest.
Right.
So a little bit about preparing for that is making sure, which I think we talked about this on a previous episode, is making sure that your family knows a lot about your previous life. What are things that happened to you throughout your life that were joyous moments that they can put in an album or whatever they can do in order to appreciate that. So, that first of all is having that medical directive that says, hey, this is what I want. Don't do this to me. Don't try to hold on to me so tight that I end up suffering longer.
Right.
So, that's
and having no quality of life.
Right. Quality over quantity. That's the thing, is quality over quantity. In my opinion. That's just my opinion. What do you want if you, let's say you get dementia? Have you thought about it?
Yeah. God, sometimes I think I have dementia.
Well, me too. I say, when I was teaching class last week for another community, that I kept reading the words and I was just making up my own words.
Yeah. It happens.
Like,
it's all about confidence, though. Just go with it. Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that I just want to be happy. I want to have great quality of life. I don't want to be a burden to my family. I would like to stay home as long as I possibly can. I always tell my sister that if I get dementia, she has to take care of me.
Oh, you're up, Ashley. Now, wait a minute. Your sister's older than you, isn't she?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. And I would take care of her. I plan to take care of all my family members that I can and prevent them from having to go somewhere else, because everyone's just more comfortable at home. So I would like to stay home as long as I can without being a complete burden to my family.
Right. And I think that word burden is interesting, because I think that as you age, you feel like you become a burden. But you have to also look at, if you're the parent and your adult child is caring for you, you cared for that child. So there is being a burden, which is like, being overly demanding and like, hey, pick up my Kleenex, and not being respectful to your adult child.
Being needy.
Right. Then versus being a burden. I have no problem whatsoever helping with my dad in any instance that he would need, or my mom for that matter. But, I think that they don't like to ask for help. And I think that's a common thing.
For sure.
But I'm like, you wiped my butt when I was pooping my pants and as a baby. So, I mean, I don't care to help you do whatever.
It's my turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
And we've come full circle, and now it's my turn. So, I think the older generation needs to realize that, because suicide is a big thing in older generations, because they feel like they're a burden. And I think that's something that everybody needs to be mindful of is, as the adult children, you should be willing to help. And as the parents, you should know it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah. And my kids are young, but we've definitely talked about, like, Jack will make comments like, Mom, I'll put you in a nursing home. And I'm like, listen here. But out of all of my kids, he would probably be the one
to take care of you, for sure.
Build me a bedroom in the basement and take care of me for as long as he can. And Callie too. Callie's very much like me. She's very soft-hearted. She's a little caregiver. Wants to be a nurse and do nails when she grows up.
It's an odd combination.
It is. It is. But
she should be going to the nursing home to do nails. She should volunteer.
Oh my God, she would love that.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
When you're doing that homeschooling, you can, even my sister and Kelly can go,
yeah,
and go to the nursing home.
Right now, she's excited to go to third grade.
Yeah,
she's like done a 180.
Well, that's good,
and wants to go to school. So we'll see.
Squirrel back to her.
But I've told my kids, I don't ever want to be a burden to you. But I do hope they know I want to stay home as long as I can, for sure.
You don't want them to ship you off.
No.
To the dementia unit too soon.
No.
So there's that living will. And then, of course, having a will actually of where things on, because we see in senior care all the time, people fighting like crazy over
Then the state
over the
ends up with
assets.
it.
And then the reality of it is when you're fighting over it and everything like that. So preparing, meeting with a financial advisor, we're actually going to have a financial advisor as a guest speaker. And I'm excited for that because I think that would be a benefit for families.
Very much so.
And a social worker also we're going to have so they can talk about those things. But, being prepared for those moments financially, medically, everything going from there. But, overall, then there's a lot of things that happen when you're gone.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
And
Now,
I want my
now
kids,
what?
if I die tragically, sooner than I intend to, I want my kids to be set up financially for success. So let me know when this financial advisor is here so I can make an appointment with him.
Yes, absolutely. I will.
I don't want to leave them debt and just assets that they can't do anything with. I want them to be set up for success if I'm not here to help them through life.
Well, I understand that. That was what big thing for myself is my son is getting ready to graduate from college, and to me that's how I set them up. They got it. They're on their own now.
Yeah.
However, I do want to prepare by creating a will that says, this is where everything goes and this is what happens and this is how, and I want to talk to them about it ahead of time because I also want them to not fight about it. I want them to know, hey, if you have a reason that you're not happy with this, let's talk about it while we're alive. Nobody wants to talk about things that are difficult anymore.
But they happen every single day.
I know they happen every day. So like, you think of, well, who's my doctor? Where do I want to go? Who knows what happened about anything? Who is my first contact if I'm still alive? If I'm gone and we're to that point where we're looking at that stuff, who holds the mortgage on my house? Let's say of that, or where's my insurance? Where is my life insurance? I have a couple different policies, so it would be something that nobody knows. I've mentioned to my kids, but they don't know where that is and what to do with it.
Or even who has the policy.
Right.
So they would know who to call.
And a really important thing is, what do I want my funeral to look like?
Oh, that's a hard one for me.
So how do we find that joy in that funeral? I don't want to be dressed. Don't put me in my Sunday best. Put me in my normal. Look at that. That's Tina's clothes.
Oh, my best pair of running shoes.
Your best pair of running shoes.
Shorts.
You're running right on into heaven. And, put me in something I look nice, but not, a lot of times I go to funerals and people are dressed in like something you would never wear them in.
And see, I can't do the open casket. There's something about it. I don't like it. I don't go up there. I don't want that to be my last image of that individual.
I want to be cremated.
Do you?
I do.
See, just thinking about
that. They just say I don't need my body. So, so what does it matter? And I don't want my ashes sitting on my mantle of my kid's house and then be like having to look at mom every day. Oh, there's mom's ashes. I think that's weird.
Yeah.
So, I don't care what they do with my ashes because I just don't think that I need my body when I'm dead.
Yeah.
So what does it matter? Why are we putting it in the ground and making someone? I still go visit my grandma's grave regularly, take her flowers regularly, talk to her grave regularly. But, I've gotten where I'm a lot better at talking to her picture or, just thinking about her, going through photo albums just to, if I want to reconnect with her versus going to the cemetery, looking at a headstone and putting flowers there. Because then I'm mad that, if I go there, my flowers are 3 months old, then I'm mad like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Look at these dead flowers on her grave. And I'm like, I don't want my kids to worry about putting flowers on my grave 22 years later. My grandma's been gone. I was pregnant with my son. And so she's been gone that long. And I still try to keep flowers there as several people in the family. But, do I really need to do that? Or more importantly, do I just need to keep her memory alive and make her proud and those different things? So
I think I would want to, if I died younger, tragically, I would want to donate my body, I think. Just to give
That's a good thing.
someone else a
A
chance
chance.
to learn and grow and educate. But the thing with that, so my grandma donated her body. My grandma did fantastic. She, had her plan, paid for her plan over time. She knew exactly what she wanted to do, and she donated her body. And with that, though, like this particular plan that she had, they cremate the body when they're done, and they have a memorial site at I think it was like St. Louis University that she donated her body to, and then her ashes are spread on their memorial site. So I don't have anything for my grandma like ashes or a grave site or anything really. So I don't feel like there was ever closure doing that, and I don't want to do that to my family. I feel like you do have to have that closure. So I would just have to do some more research about different programs and different plans that they have.
Yeah. I had an experience where someone donated their eyes, their organs, and they donated their eyes. And the person passed, not unexpectedly, but kind of unexpectedly. And they're like, as a family, do you guys want to come? And they had ice packs on their eyes when we walked in the room as they were, saving the eyes. And that was very unsensitive.
Yeah.
Insensitive. I thought that was very poor taste. Maybe I should have prepared, if I'm donating my body, I should prepare my family for, hey, I want to donate my organs. Let them take anything. So don't come see me once I'm already gone because I'm going to be packed in ice.
Yeah.
So I didn't, as a nurse, I walked in that room and I felt horrible for the person I was with because I understood it as a nurse, but they didn't understand that site as a family member.
Yeah.
So I just, there's some, as nurses, please be mindful of that. If you have to do that and prepare them before they walk in the room or something. But that was a little,
when you donate your body,
hard.
it's a very quick process. Like they have to get you
right. You got
to that destination. I think
you got to
it's
keep
like
things iced
within 2 hours or something.
Right.
So it's definitely a quick process.
So it's important to talk about that because you do want your family to be able to remember you and share the joyful moments versus sitting around crying and wondering what to do next. Obviously, there's going to be tears.
Lots
and lots of tears, lots of grief, and that's okay. So let's be more mindful as we age and prepare for that moment.
It's a part of life,
and
it's something that we have to normalize because we're all going to die.
Yeah,
it sucks, but we are all going to die, and it's better to be prepared than to leave that tragedy for your family to have to take care of.
And I've had an instance where someone very close to me says, I'm dying. And I'm like, well, so am I. Guess what? So am I. And, some of us we know are going to probably get there before other ones, but we're all dying. So being prepared for that and what that looks like. Again, it's ugly. So some of the things in this book, which I highly recommend, is interesting, is, key contacts, of who you need to talk to, family members,
insurance companies, life insurance policies, who your mortgage is through, things like that.
Right. If you're a part of the military, like how to go about that process, because you can have a service through the military.
My grandpa had a veteran service for his.
And then making sure that people know a lot of things like where are location of documents? What are things that you might need to know in order to, if you were going to donate your body? If no one knows your health history, that sometimes helps if that's the case.
I'm not an organized person. I know, shocker. It surprises you, doesn't it?
I'm shocked.
So I need something like that to keep items like that in, because I'm not even sure my husband would know the answer to some of those things.
Where's your birth certificate located? Where's your will located? Where do you keep other things like your passport and stuff so you can handle some of that? Marriage and divorce papers sometimes become really important as you're trying to, match things up. Username and passwords. Ugh, you're not supposed to write them down because you're supposed to keep them under lock and key and change them every 30 days. And it's gotten so freaking complicated to have usernames and passwords. But wow, how convenient would that be to know people's usernames and passwords when it
Well, you
comes
have
to
to
that
change
time?
them so
I
frequently.
know.
Now, my iPhone updated here recently, and I can get into everything with my Face ID and talk about convenient, but I'm not going to remember my usernames and passwords for
No,
anything
not
because
at
if I
all.
can just use my Face ID, that's what I'll do.
Where you bank. Not only where you bank, I have a health savings account. I have another savings account, and then I have my banking account, and then I have the business account. So that could be 4 different banks that you're using. So even someone very close to you knows, oh, I know she banks at this bank. But do you know what bank I bank at?
Yeah.
Because you can sign up for bank accounts online these days.
Yep.
So you don't even have to, it doesn't have to be one in your neighborhood. I have a bank I use that is nowhere near here. And my kids do not know that.
Yeah.
So having that information wrote down for them to know that, oh, there's other money in this location also. For kids to know what they're financially responsible for, and the financial advisors will help with this, but knowing what they're financially responsible for after my death.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if my kids want to keep my house and I owe something on it, if they want to keep my truck or whatever they want to keep, that if it has a lien against it, okay, yeah, you have to pay that. But let's say I was someone with a bunch of credit cards, where does that lay into? So they really have to know, they need to know what
Right.
they're responsible for, because when someone passes, everyone starts contacting you
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know, is this legit? Did she really have this bill? Did she not have this bill? Am I responsible for this bill? So those are important questions to ask your financial advisor as you're kind of going along, because you never know what someone has that is lurking in the
If you're
background.
going to get
So
left with that.
yeah. So there's actually a page on here that says what I owe. Um, you know, what do I owe on? What are you responsible for? So tax records, where they are at, safe deposit box. If you happen to have one of those, that's something that nobody would know that you have if you don't share, or
Right.
where it is. Even if you have a key, they might
Where's the
not know
key? What's the code?
where it
Yeah.
is. So, having this information wrote down so where that stuff is. So, what money it might be owed to you, so I have a 401k, you know, do they know where that is? Or do I have money in invested in something? Or
Who are the
who are the
beneficiaries
beneficiaries? And,
on that account? Yeah.
I would hate, there's a lot there. You would be surprised how many accounts are out there that nobody's claimed.
Yeah.
So interesting.
And personal things at home. Something my grandma did very well at was she wrote names on things. Like, when I'm gone, this goes to Whitney. When I'm gone,
Did you
this
write all
goes
those?
to Jack. No, she did a very good job. Like, even on the back of picture frames, when I'm gone, give this to Jack. It's a picture of his dad when he graduated boot camp. And she literally wrote on the back of it, when I'm gone, give this to Jack.
Aw,
And he
that's
has it
super
sitting
sweet.
like above his bed in his room. But even jewelry, like my grandma loved jewelry and had very nice jewelry. And she would like take her jewelry box out when we would go visit her and say, when I'm gone, I want you to have this. And when I'm gone, I want your sister to have this, or I want your mom to have this. She knew. She just knew. She did very well.
That's really good, because that's another thing. Like, currently, my grandmother's Mother's Day ring is kind of out there, and my sister's trying to get her hands on it, not because it's worth anything, just because it's something precious to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's she shares a middle name with my grandma, and it's not worth anything. It looks rough last time I remember seeing it, but I'd still love to be able to lay my eyes on it
Yeah.
once in a while. because there are certain things that mean more to certain people. She wore that a lot. That was something that she could still wear for quite a while. And I think it's important to know that stuff.
Yeah.
Or there's things that, like, hey, I got this when I got married. This is what I wore in my wedding. This is what I wore on my graduation from nursing school. Or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of different things that you could have in your life that you know where you got them. But does anyone else know where you got
the
them?
significance of them.
Right.
I have both of my prom dresses from high school in my closet. My grandma actually bought both of those dresses for me, and I still have them in the JCPenney's bag, like cover that they came in. And Callie pulled one out the other day, and she's like, "Where did this dress come from?" And I was like, "Well, that was my prom dress." And she said, "Oh, I am wearing this to prom."
That'll be interesting to see what kind of style it is by the time she goes to prom.
Right.
Yeah. She might change her mind as she becomes a teenager, but that is awesome. I have a dress that I kept that was custom made for the woman's daughter, and I wore it to prom. She wore it to prom, and then my mom got it, and I wore it to prom. And then the girl passed away in a car accident, like right after my prom. So I still have that dress, and and I'm just like, if I ever seen that mom, I'm like, here's the dress you made for your daughter. But I just always kept it.
I have a veil, a beautiful handmade veil that I wore in my first wedding that Nick's grandma actually made for me. His grandma Sue made for me, and I still have that, and I will never part with it. But
I don't blame you. I have my wedding dress.
Yeah.
And I won't part with it either. It was, those things are built on love.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
But I will want Jack to have that because it was a part of his grandma Sue made that, and he can maybe one day give it to his wife or daughter or something just to keep it in the family.
Yeah, I agree. Real estate, sometimes people have a little lot here, a little lot there. Knowing where they all are is definitely listed here. Insurance, pets.
Take them. You can have mine.
You can have hers, but
you can have them.
Have 3 pets. And if I see sometimes where someone says, hey, this person passed or whatever, we have this dog and the kids are getting rid of it. My kids, I'm telling you right now, you better take my pets and you better take care of them like I would take care of them, because they're my babies. And, and more people are getting that attached to their pets, sometimes over their children. And I do not want my pet randomly left at the pound. Yeah. So
they cause me so much stress. So if anything happens to me, Donna, you can have Marley. She's all yours. She will take Marley in a second. She always wants Marley.
I have a 160-pound Great Dane, and I know no one will want her, but somebody better take her and take care of her. And that'd probably have to be you, Samantha. So
put it in the book. Then she'll have to put it in the book,
and you'll have to. I'll put a note next to it to guilt her into it. So different things that could be canceled. Another thing that we do these days is in your bank account, you have a lot of things that are done automatically.
Everything.
Right.
If my bills don't come out automatically, there's a solid chance I'm going to forget to pay it.
Right. And so I also see where, okay, well, I don't want my life insurance I don't want all these things to continue to be paid that I'm dead.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter if those things are happening.
And they take that money.
And they take it regardless.
And then it'll take you years to get it back.
Right. So
and somebody will have to
looking
fight to
at
get it.
those things to know what subscriptions that you have that need to be canceled. Because, I don't need to keep my cable TV bill coming out of my account if I'm not living in my home watching my TV.
Yep. Or my Kindle Unlimited subscription. Make sure we get that canceled. Erase that history.
How about social media? Everybody has social media accounts. I just think of how many I go through my social media friends sometimes, and there are dead people in
there. Yeah, mine too.
And I think, well, that's interesting. Do you want your social media account to stay up?
I think so.
You
Because
want
then people
everybody to
can
be
go
wishing
back.
you happy birthday on your birthday every year?
Sure.
Yeah.
Then I know they're remembering me. I mean, it does pop up and say, hey, it's Whitney's birthday. Wish her happy birthday. And it even types in the message for you where you just have to hit post.
Yeah.
But
I don't wish anyone happy birthday on
no,
social media.
I do sometimes. If
Yeah.
I'm close to them, I will text them or call them. But
Right. But these days we have all these social media accounts.
I
you know?
have so many pictures on Facebook. And it would suck to lose all of those.
That would be
'cause
a great place to get
I-
pictures for your service.
Yeah.
So, that's the main thing about your service. You mentioned earlier that you don't want, there's a particular place everyone in town goes here. And, it's a nice place, but it just doesn't have my style either.
Mine either.
And I want my service to be a celebration of my life. I want fun pictures. I want, I would be okay with like music and fun. Like I am dancing my way to the next life. I don't want to, um, I don't want to be sad. If I die tomorrow, I feel like I've lived a very full life.
Mm-hmm.
I've, done lots of things. I've loved and lived and learned, and I would be okay with that.
I would too.
Celebrate it.
I wouldn't be okay. I mean, I would have to be okay with it.
You wouldn't have no choice.
I would feel bad for my kids because I wouldn't want them to have to grieve and know how to get through life without me.
We were talking about someone the other day that is, I had someone I cared for, and she'd been married 6 times, and she'd lost 6 husbands. She didn't divorce any of them. They'd die. I mean, you might have to wonder about that. I won't.
I wasn't going to say.
You might have to wonder about that. But the reason of her last marriage was 94 years old. So I hope her husbands, as she was with them and they were aging together, said, hey, if something happens to me, you go on, you move on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm saying that, my kids, if something happened to me, I would greatly appreciate Tim to have company again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. Tell your kids, hey, if something happens to me, it's okay. Accept the next person. Know that, hey, if Tim picked me, he obviously going to pick someone great. So it's okay. Be okay with that person too.
Yeah.
And, because I don't want, I wouldn't want Scarlett, my granddaughter, to lose contact with Papa Tim.
Mm-hmm.
If something happened to me. So I would want my kids to still keep him in their life and, encourage him to continue, making the best of life.
Right.
And so that's another conversation that needs to happen, to say, it's okay. Remarry again. Yeah. Remarry 6 times all the way up until you're 94. And I think she probably would have married again if she could have.
Yeah.
Because she'd tell me all the time. She worked at Famous Bar. Famous Bar, and she loved the French onion soup. And she would talk about, she's worked in the purse department, and I guess that maybe she'd pick up some men in the Famous Bar or something. I don't know. She had six husbands. Could you imagine having 6 husbands?
No.
So
nope.
But I do see cases where families get upset afterwards. So it's another piece of the conversation to have, is preparing for your kids next time. So that person that you loved can have joy still. Mm-hmm. You've got to find joy in the journey, no matter the circumstances, mm-hmm. even through death.
It's going to happen.
Yes.
One day, somehow, some way.
So you just take your life and you just wrap it in a pretty little package as much as you can, and you teach those around you that it's going to be okay. And then you give them the pieces that they need to make sure that it's okay, so that they
know life
experience
will go
moments
on,
of joy. Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not here.
Right.
Life still has to go on, and you want them to have the best quality of life that they can too.
Right. And because we've seen it in senior care, we see it all the time where families are fighting, decisions haven't been made ahead of time. Nobody knows anything about anything.
Here recently, I had a case where spouse wasn't married. Patient had a spouse, a boyfriend, a significant other, whatever you want to call it, and had children. The spouse and the children did not agree. Patient wanted something, spouse wanted something, children wanted it to be whatever the spouse, or I'm sorry, whatever the patient wanted it to be. And there was like this terrible triangle of what is going to happen to this patient. What do we want for this patient? What's the best for this patient? And patient was leaning towards spouse because she wanted to make her spouse happy. And then the kids were mad at the spouse. And it's just in a time like what she is experiencing, which is entering the end stages of life, she didn't need all of that, that stress
Right.
at that moment. It should simply be your wishes, what you want, and as loved ones, you just need to accept what they want, what their wishes are.
That's true. I 100% agree because when emotions are high, it's not the time to be making decisions.
Yep.
Make them in advance. Prepare yourself. We're all going to travel to whatever's next. Some believe it's heaven. Some believe there's nothing. I don't care what you believe, but prepare for your family to deal with that.
To know what to do when you're gone.
Right.
As moms,
and
we do everything.
Right.
We're the go-tos for everything. Even with our husbands and our spouses. Like, we are the moms and wives, we are the go-to people. So if we are not here, we need to make sure that our families are set up if we're not here.
Right. Yes. My kids heavily rely on me as their mom still, and they're grown kids. And it would be a sad day if they didn't have me and they had to rely on other people because other people in their lives maybe don't support them as I would. So it would be a challenge.
Yeah.
All the way around. So I would not want to give that to anyone. I don't want those burdens on anyone. That is when you become a burden. It's when you haven't prepared properly.
Yeah.
And that is, you don't want to leave. Now, some people say, well, I don't care, I'll be gone. Well, you should care. You should care that, if you're still alive and your family's not having to be dealing with that stress at that time, because the less stress they have, the more they can support you when you need them the most. And then afterwards, then that gives them time to grieve versus time to figure out a bunch of stuff they really probably don't care about at the moment. But unfortunately, life keeps going and you still have to figure those things out. So
another thing I thought of too was not necessarily to put someone in charge, but like in my situation, I have kids, I have siblings, I have a husband. I don't think my husband would have any idea what he would do with me if I died tomorrow. But to have someone like you and Tracy, you guys would be level-headed about planning my funeral and knowing what I want. My sister would know what I would want, but she would be grieving and it would be a horrible, I wouldn't want to put her through that. I know you guys would grieve if I was gone too.
Tracy and I would be grieving also.
I know you would, but you would handle that situation better than my mom or my sister, or my husband.
Yeah.
So I would want to put that, not necessarily burden, but more those decisions
there should
on
be
someone close to me that's not directly my kids or my siblings or my husband, because I wouldn't want them to have to stress about that.
Right. And the retirement and financial advisor will talk a little bit about that, as making sure that you do have, even when you're talking power of attorney, who that is, medical, financial, and then the executor of the will, of how that works, to say that someone's in charge. And then the rest of you have to say that in advance.
Yeah.
Before you die.
Yeah.
Because then the rest will be like, what? Mom made this person responsible? Yes, I did. Yes,
Mhm.
I need to be able to tell my kids that, or whoever, ahead of time and say, I made this person responsible. Whether you want to give them the reason why, who knows? But if you don't want to give them the reason why, just say, because I know I trust them with my life, with your life, and I don't want you to have to worry about that while you're grieving about
Yeah.
me. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go into, well, remember that one time? It just has to be, say it in advance. Quit being afraid of having hard conversations. They're ugly. They don't feel good all the time. When Whitney said, let's do this, I was like, how do we make that a good interview podcast? How do we do that? But overall, hard conversations are hard, but they must happen
Yeah.
in order to have peace on the other side. So, all
Just
right.
knowing I don't have any of that stuff set up, but I need to. But just knowing that all of that was set up would give me such peace of mind.
Me too. You've actually encouraged me to finish my book.
Good. I need the book. Send me the link.
I'm dead. Now what? There's some other funny ones out there that are, um, puts a little light spin. Put a light spin on it, guys. It's going to happen. Might as well um, make light of where you can.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today, Whitney, and making us talk about tough conversations.
My pleasure.
And thank you all for listening. And this is Tina.
This is Whitney.
And have a great day.
Bye, guys.